we're going to go over a bunch of stuff: syllabus, Canvas, Mymathlab, the different types of homework, discussion boards, all sorts of good stuff. So this is going to take quite a bit. So let's go ahead and get into it. And again, you should be taking notes when things, how do I want to say this? When it's something that you feel like you're going to need to remember later. All right, so we talked about our course ID. We know when we're going to be meeting, obviously. I don't feel like I need to go into too many of those details over and over and over. I am Rodney Beckner. I will be teaching this class all semester until December something, December 15th, roughly, I want to say is when we're ending. But we'll worry about that when we get a little closer to December. My contact information is up here. My office phone number is listed, but I'm not going to be in my office a lot throughout the semester because pandemic. So the best way to get a hold of me outside of class is to email me at rbeckner@tcc.edu. Again, rbeckner@tcc.edu. Now I'm going to say this again later and you're going to see it typed on the screen, but when you email me, you absolutely positively have to put this course's day and time in the email title. I'm basically just teaching 4 of the same class this semester, and then 2 co-recs for it as well. So if you just email me and say Math 154, well, which one? I've got 120 students across my 4 different Math 154. So you have to be specific, because if you're talking about grades or assignments or want me to look at something, I don't want to have to jump through hoops and try and figure out which course you're in. So I might just shoot you another email and say, hey, what class are you in? So please, please, please email me, rbeckner@tcc.edu. Please, please, please make sure that you've got the course day and time, not just the day, not just the time, the day and time. All right. So let's keep moving through the syllabus. Course description. What exactly is quantitative reasoning? It sounds like a nightmare class in math, right? Quantitative reasoning. Why can't we just take algebra, right? Well, actually, I don't know. I think a lot of people that are in this course wouldn't feel that way if they really knew what quantitative reasoning was. This is a math for the real world course. That's what this is. We're not going to learn the quadratic formula because the quadratic formula gets used to find the intercepts of quadratics and to do this and to do that and blah, blah, blah. We're going to be learning how to deal with proportions, aka proportional reasoning. The idea that when one thing doubles, something else doubles, and why that happens, when that happens. We're going to talk about a lot of finance stuff. We're going to talk about how to calculate your grades. We're going to talk about credit card management. We're going to talk about how to retire on the cost of a cup of coffee from Starbucks every day. And if we actually had time, we would get to logic, which we never have time in this course, just FYI. We get to chapter 9. We're never going to get to chapter 10. It is impossible, especially over Zoom, where things are going to move 10% slower. So prereqs, co-reqs, you do have to have placed in this class. You may have been placed into this class with a co-requisite, which is MDE 54, in which case you'll have that with me. If you have 154 with one teacher and 54 with another teacher, it doesn't work. If you have me with 154, all of my 154s are supposed to be linked with all of my 54s. So no student of mine should be in my 54, but not my 154 or vice versa. And up until Sunday, everyone was in my classes correctly, which in the past, that's never been the case. Usually I've had several students that had like a 154 at the Chesapeake campus or a 54 at the Virginia Beach campus. And that just doesn't work because different campuses and different teachers work at different paces. So hopefully that is not going to be an issue. But again, you do have to have been placed in this course, which placement at TCC is very different than it used to be 5 years ago, but we don't need to spend 10 minutes and talk about that. Required course materials. And this was something that if you read this file, this helpful tips file that I sent out in the email, that you would have seen several of these issues talked about, like the fact that for the textbook, when you look at the bookstore or online, when you look in my syllabus, you'll see one option says mandatory and the other says optional, or one is required and one is recommended, just different verbiages. It's very confusing, and I was actually trying to get that fixed this year on a committee, but we never saw any action because hashtag 2020, lots of weird things going on. But hopefully by the next semester. But anyways, the language is just confusing. It makes people think they have to buy the first thing and then they can choose to buy the second thing if they want to. Well, that's actually not right. The second thing is optional because it has an extra piece of literature attached to it. So it's a buy one or the other. Do not buy both. Do not buy both. Highlighted, capitalized, should have underlined it as well. 3 exclamation marks. Do not buy both of these things. Buy one or the other. One is cheaper and doesn't include a printed worksheet option. The other is more expensive and does. So what are those options? I want my Windows. Silly. Technology is always fun. So you have your ISBN numbers here. Again, this is one or the other, one or the other, one or the other. Do not buy both, do not buy both, do not buy both. You're going to hear me repeat myself a lot because, well, I have to. So again, this language right here is just confusing. Buy one or the other. The first option is just a Mymathlab access code. You will not get anything physical except a little thin piece of cardboard with a piece of paper inside of it, something like that, or a scratch off or a little rip off for the 25 or 30 digit code. That's all you will get with the first option, and it's about $100 roughly, plus or minus 10 or 20 bucks. The second option is going to come with that access code, the same as the first, but then in addition, you will be able to purchase, it will come with the physical guided activities, also known as the worksheets. You'll hear those two phrases interchanged, guided activities and worksheets. And we're going to use these a lot throughout the semester, but you might be wondering, well, if we use them a lot, and if they're required to be done, why would it be an optional purchase? Because it's available online, available through Mymathlab. So there is an electronic version of these. There's a PDF version of these. And guess what? PDFs you could print if you wanted. So you can either just have them open on your computer or your cell phone if you can actually get Mymathlab to work on your cell phone. It hasn't worked for me in years. So you could just have those guided activities loaded up on your computer, or if you have access to a printer or cheap printing somewhere, then you can print them up. And we're going to talk about that more in detail later. So again, buy one or the other. You must buy one or the other. If you don't, within 14 days, you will lose access to all of your course materials in Mymathlab. And then because you've lost those materials, you will be lost from this class. Eventually, you would be removed from this class because you can't continue. You can't do anything except watch Zooms. That's all you'd be able to do. So that would be terrible. All right. Outcomes. What exactly are we going to be doing in this? And you're going to just hear me very, very briefly go through these longer things. We're going to learn how to make some mathematical models. We're going to learn how to identify reasonable solutions. And identify reasonable solutions, what you're going to hear me say over and over and over and over and over is, does it make sense? Does it make sense? Does it make sense? Does it make sense? I'm going to warn you, I've had not a lot of students complain, but a couple students complain. You know, we get our reviews in at the end of the each semester, and you know, out of 20 or 30 reviews, maybe one or two always say they don't like the fact that very often I'll do a problem wrong before I do it right. And when I do that, it's 99.9% of the time intentionally. Nobody's perfect. Occasionally I'll make a mistake. It is what it is. But you will see me do problems wrong, not long. They might feel long in time. But you will see me do problems wrong quite often. Get to the answer, ask us, does it make sense? And go, well, gosh, golly darn gee, no, it doesn't make sense. So let's find where we made our mistake. This is called learning how to think critically. Learning how to be reasonable. Because if we're talking about, you know, oh, hey, find the speed of this car, and the answer is 2 million miles an hour, that doesn't make sense. We've done something wrong. Let's go back and figure that out. So I guess I'm sorry that some students don't like my method of doing things wrong and then doing things right, but it's teaching you how to think critically, which is one of the 2 most important things that I'm trying to develop in this course. So please understand that. Again, you're not always going to see me do things exactly 100% right out of the gate. That's half the point of this course to me. And I hope that most of you will be able to appreciate that. And if you don't, the cool thing is there's other people that teach quantitative reasoning, and you can take a course with them. and maybe they don't do things the same way as I do. In fact, I can tell you most teachers are going to do this course differently. This isn't like an Algebra 1 course where there's not a lot of there's not a lot of bending room. It's do this, do this, do this, do this. I can throw out topics here. I can add topics. I can do completely different assignments if I want to, and in some cases I do. Because this is very much an open-ended course. There's no second half of quantitative reasoning, whereas with an algebra class, there's always a next course. With pre-calculus, why do we take pre-calculus? Well, it's got that prefix of pre, because you're probably going to take calculus next. You're learning things for another course. I'm teaching you things for the real world. And I want to focus, especially later, on things that I think are very important that you don't get taught in high school that you should, like how to set up and how to, make 401ks work for you, or IRAs, or just any type of retirement fund, how to understand your credit score, how to make your credit score better, all the myths about credit cards. You would not believe the number of things you might think about credit cards are true, but are in fact not. All right, so financial decisions, talked about that a little bit. We will still have algebra and we will still have arithmetic in here. You are supposed to know all of those prerequisite maths like adding and subtracting and multiplying and dividing, sign numbers, fractions, decimals, all that stuff. Fortunately, you're allowed a calculator in here 100% of the time. I mean, hey, math in the real world, you got your cell phone on you all the time. That's a calculator. So that's kind of nice there. So we will use a decent amount of technology, and not just calculators. We will use Excel all the time. You can find a very, very rough course schedule in your syllabus, and I do mean rough. This is, unfortunately, I'm not allowed to change this part. There's a lot of things in the syllabus I'm not allowed to change, but everyone knows that teaches this class, no one actually sticks to the schedule. It says week 1, intro to Excel. That's not true at all. The first half of this week, we're doing our course intro. That's today, our next class. We will do the first half of the Excel intro. Then the first class of week 2, we will do the second half of the Excel intro. Then the last half of week 2 will actually get into 1.1 and maybe 1.2. So already it's topsy-turvy. It says week 8. By week 8, we're supposed to be done with chapter 4. Not even close. We probably won't get to our midterm until week 10. So this really just tells us, ballpark where we should be, but it also tells you what sections we'll cover. So you can see, hey, with chapter, actually, this is wrong. We do include 5.4. And again, I can't change that. So I'm just going to type 5.4 while you can see it on the screen. You can see that we don't do 6.1 or 6.3. You can see that we don't do 8.2. You can see that we don't do 9.4. But it does tell you the order we'll do things in. So that's nice there. You can see based on this that in terms of testing, we're only going to have 2 tests in here. And I'm throwing up my my fingers with it too, like you can see it. I don't have a webcam on this computer, unfortunately. It is what it is. So midterm and a final. The midterm will cover the first half of the course. The final exam also includes chapters 1 through 4. So just like every math class you ever have, the final exam is cumulative. So the midterm covers the first half, the final exam will cover everything. You will receive reviews for both of those. We'll talk about that in greater detail later, but they are very, very, very good reviews that you should do. They break this course into units. We don't care to talk about that. You can see if you scroll through this on your own time, we just have too many things to cover to be able to do that. All the different sections, the titles. The first 4 chapters are practically on the same thing, just extending concepts. We don't really cover a lot of different types of math in here. We do proportions. We turn the idea of proportions into percents. We get into graphs, which basically takes proportions, and then we'll throw an extra concept in that with lines. Then we start talking about exponential functions, because this is what is going to lead us into our financial discussions, because we can't talk finances without talking exponential growth, because that's how our money grows when we put it in the right places, along with many, many other things. We'll talk about correlation versus causation and curve fitting. This is a really, really awesome topic to be able to discuss lightly. And it's something that we could talk about for an entire year if we wanted to get into the big, heavy science of things. And then finance in chapter 9, which we won't get a lot of time. I would love to have 3, 4, 5 weeks to talk about this with you, but we're only going to get about a week. But we will make the best of that week. And we'll still throw a lot of finance topics in before that, as simply as we can. We, of course, have our COVID-19 policy. If you go in your Canvas course, which again we'll show soon, you are supposed to check out all the documents there. You know the drill. Don't go on campus if you have been displaying symptoms, yada, yada, yada. This right here. No one ever wants to do this. No one wants to ever do this. No one ever wants to read ahead. This is college. This is not high school. You are supposed to read ahead. And that's not the only time you're going to hear me make that statement about college versus high school. How far do you read ahead? A chapter? Half the text materials? Just read the next section. If we finish 1.2 today, which is not what I'm saying we will do, read 1.3 before next class. And I'm not saying read it in grand detail. I'm not saying spend 4 hours reading the text. I'm saying put your eyes on it. Find the big stuff. Find a formula or two in there that you might think is necessary. Read the introduction to the concepts. Check out these little, I call them notes to share that are in Canvas. We'll show you those later. But you are expected to read ahead. And I will occasionally give pop quizzes based on this. All right. Now, this is the thing I know everybody was waiting for. And this is the part that is extremely different than most math classes. Most math classes, you got homework is a big chunk of your grade, and then you got tests are a big chunk of your grade. And depending on teachers, maybe quizzes is a small chunk of your grade. So I'll just tell you, like my pre-calc class, I do 20% as homework, and then the other 80% is tests, just evenly distributed. Maybe like a 20% for the first 3 tests and then 20% for the final. Well, this one is nothing like it. We got Mymathlab homework. We got Excel homework. We have quizzes. We have guided activities, guided worksheets. We have a project. We have a midterm, and we have a final. So let's look at these slower. The first 3 things, Mymathlab homeworks, Excel homeworks, and quizzes. I'm sorry, this isn't all on the same screen. I can't change it, unfortunately. They're all 15% each. So these are all weighted, and you're going to hear me use that word a lot in chapter 2. Those are all weighted the same. So Mymathlab homeworks 15%, Excel homeworks 15%, quizzes 15%, which quizzes are all essentially homework as well. We're not going to be doing any quizzes actively during class, at least that's my intentions. If I decide to change that halfway through the semester, I reserve that right if I think I have to. I haven't had to before, so hopefully that's not the case. So 15, 15, 15. This is all homework. That's half your grade. That's 45% of your grade right there that's homework. Well, there's a little bit more that's homework as well. The guided activities. This counts as homework, 10%. That's 55% of your grade that is homework. Now, all 4 of those topics are really easy to make A's and B's on. You just do the assignments. You just spend your time. Now, I use the word easy, but if you're not willing to invest your time, which we'll talk about how much time you're expected to invest in this course, then it's not going to be easy. So Mymathlab homeworks, this is going to be your much more traditional feeling homework. We will do 1 section per e-text section. So 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. There's 3 sections in chapter 1, so you'll have 3 Mymathlab homeworks. There'll be, about 25 of these throughout the semester. It's 3, 7, 11, 15, 19, 20, 22, about 25. That's weird. Zoom just popped up and said, students can now see my screen. I hope you've been able to see my screen the whole time. Someone mentioned something about projects, so I think so, yeah. All right, so traditional homework right here, Mymathlab homeworks. And we'll show you what those look like a little bit later. I don't want to do too many things at once. These are very easy to get A's on as long as you invest your time, because you essentially have infinitely many attempts on every single problem. Excel homeworks, now I've mentioned that there's a lot of things in the syllabus that I can't change, and this is one of those. That shouldn't say that. So Excel assignments. One is posted in Mymathlab as an assignment for almost every e-text section covered. Now, you're going to look in Mymathlab later and say, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. I only see like 10, 11, or 12 of these. Because there are like 40 or 50 different Excel assignments I could assign. And there are teachers that assign 1 or 2 of these a week. Thankfully, I'm not one of the teachers that assigns 2 a week. I do about 1 a week. I would say I average just a little under 1 a week. We're going to have 10 or 11 by the end of the semester. Since this is a 15, 16-week course, you can see that that's going to average just a little under 1 a week. We're not going to do one the first week. And then we'll assign the first one during the second week. So you already lose a couple there. So these are assigned in Mymathlab. You will download them. You will find instructions in them. You will complete them, and then you'll submit them in Mymathlab as well. So when you pull up your syllabus, when you download it, wherever you download it from, I emailed it to you. It's in Canvas. It's in Mymathlab. You can't miss it. If you keep an electronic file that downloaded, just make sure that you change that. Again, I can't actually change that and then send it. Well, I could send it out, but I'm not going to. I've already got too much to do with this course to send out 4 copies of the syllabus, and then students are just going to get confused. So we will talk about this in greater detail later, but you will have to do your Excel homeworks. If you don't do your Excel homeworks, there's going to be a problem, because that's, first of all, it's 15% of your grade. Second of all, attendance is tied to your participation in homeworks. Quizzes. I'm going to give quizzes about once a week. Again, we're going to have about 10 of these. I like to keep the assignments around 10 for the Excels and the quizzes. These will vary in type. And we will talk about due dates and stuff in just a little bit as well. But specifically, homeworks are always going to be due about in 1 week. But I will have more specific details in just a little bit. But homework's due in about a week. So quizzes also would be due about in a week, unless I say otherwise. And a pop quiz is due within 24 to 48 hours if I assign any and when I assign any. So these quizzes you will always find in Canvas. So there are 2 locations where you're going to find assignments. You'll find a bunch of your assignments in Mymathlab, and you'll find a bunch of your assignments in Canvas. So I know that's not the most optimal thing in the world. Again, it's just a product of we have so much variety in this course. So you'll have quizzes based on videos that I make you watch. You'll have quizzes based on guided activities. You'll have quizzes based on questions that I just pull out of thin air and you find in a downloadable file. So also 15%. Guided activities. This is the absolute easiest chunk of your grade. You don't even have to get things right. You just have to participate. This is 100% a participation grade, and that's 10% of your grade. So if you don't do these, you can make A's on everything else, and you're just going to get a B because you chose not to participate in some discussion boards. Again, you might see some things that say Blackboard. Anything that says Blackboard is defunct. We don't use Blackboard anymore. It's Canvas. So you're going to find these as discussion boards located in Canvas. So these will be discussion boards located in Canvas, which again, I will show you what these look like, where they are, all that stuff. Working in small groups, you're going to be actually working all as one giant group. This is just left in from when we were doing traditional math classes and didn't have social distancing, where people would come in and we'd work 3 or 4 people at a time. It just doesn't work well over Zoom with different mic qualities of people and background noises and dogs barking and yelling and kids screaming and all the fun there, which is another one of the reasons why I keep everyone muted. I had a semester where I didn't, and it just went horribly. So I'm sorry if you don't like that. Again, if there's another QR teacher you want to find and try out, there's lots of variety with us. So again, these discussion boards, super, super easy. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Project, 5% of your grade. So it's just one project. That's why it's such a small chunk of your grade. Because quizzes, we're going to have 10 of them. So that's about 1.5% each. These Mymathlab homeworks, we're going to have 25 of them, so that's not even 1% each. The Excel assignment, about 10 of them, so about 1.5% each. So each individual assignment is, ballpark 1%-ish. But then this project, you might feel like, hey, this is a really small chunk of my grade. Yes, it is overall, but it's one assignment that's basically counting like 5 homeworks, roughly. Minimum one per semester. If this was in person, I'd do 2, but being that it's over Zoom, we're going to stick to 1 unless I change my mind later. And I really don't anticipate that, but I do expect it to just be 1 project. I've done a variety of activities for projects. Lately, I've been doing, I really like to do budgets, monthly budgets, because that's another thing that no one teaches you how to do in school, but is really, really, really helpful for a lot of people. And not everyone needs to work from a budget. Some people should work from a budget. Then, of course, midterm, final, these are going to be 20% each. It says 40% total for testing. They're split perfectly in half. So 20% for the midterm, 20% for the final. Now, you might feel like that's a lot, but it is pretty much traditional for any math course, at least the ones I teach, to do 20% for a single test. So it's not like one test is half your grade. I've had those classes. I've had classes where a final exam was 100% of my grade. You cannot imagine the stress and anxiety that was paired with that. And I would never do that to my students. But I can't just make a test 5 or 10% of your grade. So 20% each. And we'll talk about those much more detail when we get closer to them. But I will at least say again that you will be provided reviews for them. They are, what's the word I want to use? They are similar to the material that you'll find on the midterms and the finals. The midterms and the finals will be 20 or 25 questions. Your reviews will be somewhere in the ballpark of 50, 60 questions. And then basically I take that 50 and 60 and then whittle it down to 20 or 25, maybe changing a couple details in here and there, obviously changing numbers, but it gives you a much more specific set of topics and problems to study than just saying, hey, look over every single thing we've done for the semester. So that's how our grade is calculated. Now, the one thing I need to tell you that is super important with your grades is that when you go in Mymathlab, you will see a grade. It's wrong. When you go in Canvas, you will see a grade. It's wrong. Mymathlab is a liar with your grade. Canvas is a liar with your grade. And there are a lot of reasons for this. Mymathlab does not count assignments that you don't complete that have passed their due date as zeros. They just say, oh, that assignment doesn't count at all. It doesn't count it as a 0. So if we've done 2 homeworks so far, if you got 100 on the first one and then you didn't do the second one, Mymathlab is going to tell you have 100 when in fact you have a 50, and that's still just for your homeworks. Well, also Mymathlab homeworks and Excel homeworks are different categories completely, but Mymathlab cannot account for that. It just says everything is one type of homework. So that's a big problem. So you can't trust your Mymathlab grade. Canvas, whenever I import my course materials from a previous semester's course, which everyone does, well, I'm not going to say everyone does. Everyone that has as much stuff inside of Canvas as I do does, because it would be days worth of work to recreate everything every single semester. It unfortunately creates duplicate files. So then, okay, well, it says I've got 100 for this for my discussion board because I participated, but then I've got all these other discussion boards that I never participated in, and that's because I changed the discussion boards, and there'll be fake homework files and things like that. And Canvas doesn't really have that much stuff graded in there. It's just going to have your project grade and your quiz grades and your discussion boards. Okay, so Mymathlab's a liar. Canvas is a liar with grades. What do you do? Well, I said at the beginning of class today that I was going to teach you how to do grade calculations. There is a formula for weighted averages that we're going to cover in section 2.2. And once we do that, I'm going to give out an Excel file to manage your grades yourself, and you won't actually have to do any hand calculations. That's the beauty of Excel. Excel is a wonderful program where you just type some numbers in and it goes beep, boop, beep, and it gives you the answer. It calculates it for you if you've typed in appropriate formulas. Well, I'm going to do the formula for the weighted averages for your course grade. So you won't have to play with any of that. You just have to type in the numbers. Hey, I got a 100 on the first homework. I got a 90 on the second homework. I got a 0 on the third homework. And every time you enter a number, it's going to update your grade. So you won't see that until probably week 3, week 4, something like that. But you will get that file eventually. And if you're clever enough, if you learn how to handle things well enough, you could modify that file for other courses of yours. Attendance, something I mentioned briefly already. I am not going to count attendance based on who is in my live Zoom classes. I will for today, but in the future, it's going to be based on participation in homework. Are you doing your Mymathlab homeworks? Are you doing your Excel homeworks? Are you doing discussion boards? Are you doing quizzes? So with these Zoom classes, that's how it's done. Words are hard. With Zoom, that's how it is done. In person, I just take roll every day, but in Zoom, the problem is TCC students don't always have easy access to Wi-Fi internet. TCC students sometimes have their schedules change and, oh man, I've got to be at work today and tomorrow during my class. But what we also do is, I don't just do this class live and then that's it. I record it, I put it on YouTube, I link the YouTube videos to Canvas, and then you can go back and watch it again. Oh man, I can't remember what Mr. Beckner said, and I forgot to take notes because I was being a silly Billy. Okay, well, hey, let me pull up the YouTube video. And there we go. I think it was like 15 minutes in, and you can just really quickly scan to it. Or, oh man, Mr. Beckner talks way too fast. That's another complaint I have, and that's my personality. I actually have tried to talk slower over the years. Believe it or not, I do now than I did 15 years ago. Terrifying, I'm sure. But it's just my personality. And again, if I'm too fast for you, there are other teachers that teach 154. I'm sorry that I just can't change my personality. I try my best to modify as best I can. So, okay, well, you need to rewatch it. There's YouTube. Hey, Mr. Beckner talks too fast. Go to YouTube and play with the settings and put my speed on 75%. So then I'll talk maybe at a pace that you can understand a little bit better. Or, oh man, I missed class today. I got to get notes from somebody. Nope, just go to the YouTube. Go to the YouTube. Now I sound like I'm 90 years old. Have you seen it on the YouTube? So, is it the end of the world if you miss 4 or 5 Zoom live sessions? No, I'm not even going to count you absent as long as you're keeping up with the assignments. But if I see, man, Bob hasn't done Mymathlab homeworks for 7 days, withdrawn. Or Bob hasn't done any Excel homeworks. Well, they're not participating. They're not attending my course, withdrawn. Now, the rule is if you miss more than 4 days worth of class, so more than 4 days worth of class, which means more than 4 days worth of homework, that's when I can withdraw you. Now, do I always withdraw someone immediately? And at that point, no, there's extenuating circumstances. You know, maybe you were sick for a long time, or maybe you had to travel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As long as you're emailing me and letting me know, and if you are sick and can provide documentation, I can do homework extensions at that point. But besides that, I will not grant extensions. I do need documentation for that just because these things have to go up the chain of command and there's accountability. So if you do register for this class late, if you are watching this on YouTube and you enrolled on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or even the next week, because TCC lets people enroll in these classes, in my opinion, way too late, but you know, money's money and TCC can always use money. Everyone can always use money, not just TCC. Definitely not an insult to TCC. Love TCC. But anyways, if you're watching this later, you were counted absent for missing the first or second or third class. And you will not be given the opportunity to make up any of those assignments. Those are just the rules. So 15% means more than 4 days. Again, let me know why you're not turning assignments in, and then I don't just automatically withdraw you, but lack of communication, lack of completing assignments, that's when I start withdrawing students. And then you do have that withdrawal date, which is October something. We'll see the date soon enough. All right. Late work, makeup work, I already said that. We're not going to accept late work or makeup work except under extreme circumstances, generally requiring documentation. Classroom behavior, probably not going to have to worry about that too much, considering how I run the course. But just, I think the only thing I really need to say is keep the chat PG rated, please, and thank you. You can always chat and ask me questions while the lectures are going on. and I will answer them either out loud or in chat. You're going to notice that I use a lot of pre-recorded material. Some material I'm using from a past 1 or 2 semesters, some material I will create new. Unfortunately, the way my at-home, work from home life is, I can't always be live. There's other noises going on. There's other chaos going on. I'm not the only person here. I'm not in a setup where I can be isolated. So it is what it is, but I will always be in front of the screen. And again, please, please, please do not be discouraged to ask questions because I have your mics muted. Please don't be discouraged. Just please pop in the chat and ask questions. I will always be in the chat. The chat menu doesn't always pop up immediately. For some reason, the Zoom menu can be wacky. That's just technology. So if you don't get an answer to a question in the Zoom chat, let's say it's been 4 or 5 minutes, just ask it again. And you can ask me via the private message function, or you can ask so that everyone in chat sees. Oh, one thing I didn't talk about earlier, textbooks. Where can you get them? You can get them from the Barnes & Noble bookstore. Again, it's not a physical text. It's just a little pamphlet with a code inside of it, unless you're buying the combo pack that comes with the guided activities. But there is no actual physical textbook for this course. It's an ebook, and I'll show you how to get to that once we start playing with Mymathlab. But again, there's no physical textbook, just the guided activities, but the guided activities are also available electronically. Cell phones are not to be used as calculators during tests. That's all I really need to say about electronic devices. Cell phones are not to be used as calculators during tests. Now, I don't care if you're using your cell phones for calculators while you're doing homework or following along in lectures, et cetera, et cetera. But what I would advise you to do is go ahead and pick up a scientific calculator if you don't own one, or graphing calculator if you really want to go heavy on the finances and spend $80, $100 on one. There's also ways to download a TI-83 that I can't actually say in a recorded format, but Google would be very, very helpful. You'll see me pull up this electronic TI-83 every now and then, but that would be perfectly fine to be used during tests if you can find it, if you're really good at finding things on the internet. And honestly, you don't even have to be really good. It was quite easy to find, in my opinion. But I've been finding things on the internet for a long, long time. But I just don't know that, I'm trying to think of how to say this. I just don't want to break any rules, you know what I mean? Like plagiarism, something along those lines. Inclement weather, emergency hazardous conditions. We're not going to have any kind of tornado drills or anything like that since we're not meeting on campus. Inclement weather around us means, hey, there's a hurricane, or as I always like to be silly, I call them hurricanes. So there's a hurricane and the power's out, or I live in the land of pine trees. I've got 20 of them in my yard. And basically on a windy day, there's a 20% chance I lose power, and then boom, there's nothing. So if you ever find that I'm not live on Zoom, it's probably because my power's out. It's possible I'm sick, but usually if I'm sick, I try and send out emails or notifications, or at least put up on the Canvas link that, hey, class is not live today. This is another reason why I like using pre-recorded material, is usually there's 3 classes a semester that get missed because of hurricanes or snow or wind or illnesses, maybe even 4 some semesters. So I really like having this pre-recorded material available because, hey, if we have to miss class because my power's down for 30 minutes, good grief, that's just silly. Well, hey, I can say, hey, go on YouTube and you'll find the lecture there. And once I have my power back, and then boom, you don't have to miss anything. Tcc Alerts, if you haven't signed up for this, please do so. You find instructions on how to do so online. This will tell, hey, there's a hurricane coming in, or this or that, or this or that. So please sign up for Tcc Alerts. My favorite story is a long time ago, I was going to campus and it was snowing. And when I left my home, TCC had not been closed yet, because this was like 12, 13 years ago. Now we cancel school before snow even begins, which is just silly. So there's 2 inches of snow on the ground and TCC hasn't closed yet. So I leave And I'm about 20 miles from work at that time in my life. And I get to work an hour and 15 minutes later, and it's a deserted island. And that's because while I was gone, Tcc Alerts sent out something saying, hey, classes are canceled, stay home. You know, I could, if I had, my phone had rang and I had answered it, I, pulled over on the side of the road, whatever, and I answered it, I could have known to go home, and only 10 or 15 minutes of my time would have been wasted. Again, if you're picking up any loose leaf materials, that is your guided activities. That is not the same as the ebook. Just again, reminding you that. I think that's about all we need to say there. Withdrawal policy, we already basically talked about. You have to withdraw before the W date, which is October 28th. I know it was late October. If you want to drop this course and receive a tuition refund, and it's like you were never here, you have to do so before September 8th. So you do have a couple weeks to make that decision. Academic integrity, don't cheat, don't plagiarize. Your work should be your own. I don't care if you work together on homeworks. I don't care if you work together, if you're talking about your Excel stuff together, but tests better be your own work. Project better be your own work. You're not supposed to be communicating with anyone else for tests or project. Assessment, we've already talked about. Plagiarism, we just talked about. Educational accessibility, formerly known as disability services. If you have any paperwork to send me, please do so. This is supposed to be a new system for us where I can find everything online. New systems don't always work 100% of the time. So if you want to email me your documentation, if that's still available to you, please feel free. If you have something that goes into testing requirements, I would really appreciate it if you remind me the week of the midterm, because I tend to get a decent amount of these. And yeah, hopefully with this new electronic system, it'll be super easy to manage, and I won't have papers across 6 classes and 6 different folders. But if you just wanted to remind me, there's nothing wrong with reminding people. It's always helpful. Nothing else I really feel like I need to talk about. We do have on-campus libraries. You can find their hours of availability online and in person. Khan Academy, it's actually Khan. Another thing I can't fix, and I don't know why someone spelled that wrong, but it is what it is. That's a great website if you are weak on the prerequisite material. I am not here to teach you how to handle decimals. I am not here to teach you how to handle fractions and percents and sign numbers and stuff. I will teach you a decent amount with percents, but you're supposed to come in here with that knowledge, and I can't spend additional time on this. There's already 2 semesters worth of material to cram into 1 semester of this class, and I already have to pick and choose topics to throw out because of that. Purple Math is another great site. I will be honest, I have used I've used Khan Academy much more than Purple Math, but I have a lot of students that tell me, yeah, Khan Academy was great. I was really rusty with fractions, and that helped me. I was really rusty with converting, and that helped me. Everything else from the syllabus is pretty normal. All right. So we talked about the syllabus. Now let's get into, what do we want to do next? Let's show off this document. So this helpful tips document that I sent out, please put your eyes on this. It was emailed to you. It is also in Canvas, which will show you Canvas soon enough. Highlighted, caps, must enroll in the Mymathlab course before 5 p.m. tomorrow, or you will be removed from this class. It's like you never existed in here, and you are not allowed to join back. Sorry if you heard me drinking water. I am 100% dead serious with this. There are a ton of expectations from this course, and I can't have students who can't take 5 minutes to actually enroll in the thing that gives you access to 90% of your materials for the course. So every semester I have to remove probably 10 students because they don't do this. I don't want to remove 10 students. I really don't. So please understand that if you don't enroll in this course by 5 p.m. tomorrow, you will be deleted from the course. And I gave you that, my MyMathLab code in email. I gave it in the course intro. It's also in Canvas at the very top. Reminding you also that every email must have the date and time in the title of the email. I reserve the right to not respond to emails if you do this, or generally what I'll do is I'll just send a quick message back and say, what class you in? I will respond to emails within 24 business hours. Notice I said business hours, so weekends don't count. If I get a chance on the weekend, if I actually am able to check my email on the weekend, I'm not busy, I will respond. But if you ever don't get a response from me within 24 business hours, please just send me a push on that. Say, hey, Mr. Beckner, what's the status on this? And I'll get back to you. Because a lot of the time what will happen is I'll get 30, 40, 50 emails in a couple hours of a day. And it's not always the case, but it does happen. And I'll be reading emails and getting ready to respond, and something happens. And then I don't respond. And then I see that I've got this email that's not bolded anymore. So I think I've responded, and it turns out I haven't. So sometimes I'll read an email and I don't respond because something happened. That's generally what happened. I'm not intentionally ignoring you. I promise that I will respond to every single email. So if you don't get an answer within 24, 48 hours, please respond. Please don't send me an email 3 weeks later, giving me attitude. Why didn't you ask me about this? Again, this responsibility is on both of us. I have the same thing happen, with other people on campus. Sometimes people get busy. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes a ball gets kicked in the wrong direction. Again, textbook. With those two things we saw in the syllabus, it's a one or the other. Don't buy both. I do recommend the printed option. It's $20 more roughly, but if you don't want to spend the extra $20, then don't. Just get the one that's the code. All right, create a Mymathlab account. So how do we do this? The thing that I said will take you 5 minutes, and I can't show too much of this, and I want to do this generically. Let me actually, I'm going to go silent for about 30 seconds. All right, sorry about that. All right, Mymathlab. Now, you, of course, will have to register as a student. If you've had a Mymathlab account before, or any MyLab account, then you could just go straight to sign in. So register now as a student. It tells you the 3 things you'll need: your email address. We do highly recommend using your TCC email address. I do also highly recommend that you pay attention. That's another phrase you'll hear me say 10 million times. Make sure that if you're using your TCC account, that it's at email.vccs.edu. Every semester I get 1 or 2 students that misses a C in here, or just messes something else up about this, and then they can't log into their accounts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is a major problem. Please make sure that you get this right. If you want to use your Gmail account or whatever, I do not care. All right, your instructor's course ID. That's the thing I gave you at the beginning. And I'm not actually going to use that one when I click OK, register now. I'm going to use just a generic one because I don't want to create another account for myself, because it messes a lot of things up. And then you'll hit continue, and this is probably where I'm going to hit a wall. So because this is just a generic code, it says my instructor's course is not accepting registrations. And 1 or 2 of you may have even noticed the other day that this was the case. But everything is open now. So, oh, your instructor's course is not accepting. That shouldn't say that. When you hit continue, it should take you to a screen. And then on the right side over here, it'll say Rodney Beckner, quantitative reasoning, math 154, and then date and time and all that stuff. And then you'll click register now. And then it'll take you to a set of inputs where you put your name, your email address, your username, your password. Make sure you write your username and password down. I cannot retrieve these things for you. You don't want to go through Mymathlab's help system. It's not always great, especially if you screw up your email address. There are going to be a lot of problems there. After that, it's going to take you to a page, which again, I can't show, but I have drawn up, that'll look like this. So after you go through and enter your name, your email address, all that good stuff, In the top left on the screen, you'll see a button that says use your code. This is the thing that you purchased through the bookstore. Again, you can buy that through Barnes & Noble. If you can find it online, good luck, but it's a customized edition, so I don't think you're going to be able to find it online. The only way you find it online is you can just buy it directly through Mymathlab. So if you don't want to deal with Barnes & Noble, I do believe it's a little cheaper going directly through Mymathlab. This might mess up your financial aid. It might not. I have some students say that they can use financial aid money for it. I've had a student or two tell me they can't. So I'm not the gospel there. I am not the king of financial aid. So again, I think it's just a little cheaper if you buy direct, but you're not going to get the physical guided activities if you wanted that. And then down at the bottom here, and it's smaller font, of course, because they don't want you to see that, you will find a 14-day free trial. It's a blue hyperlink. So this would be blue. And it's not going to exactly say 14-day free trial, but it's going to be a paraphrased version of that. So that is what most of you will be clicking, since I know most of you don't have your codes yet. After 14 days, you will be locked out of your account. You do not lose your work. You do not lose your progress, but you're going to have to purchase your course materials within those 14 days, or at least a few days after. If I go in week 3 and I find that you haven't purchased your course materials and you're not completing work anymore, you're going to be withdrawn from the course, because at that point, it's too far. So please make sure that you do this. When do you have to register by? 5 p.m. tomorrow. That is a 100% hard deadline. This only takes 5 minutes of your time. 10 if you type really slow. What do I want to show next? Sorry, there's so many things to show. So we talked about how to create your Mymathlab account. And again, if I'm going too quick through this stuff, again, these documents have been emailed to you. You'll find it on YouTube, and you can go slower, you can pause, you can rewind, all that good stuff. So what does Mymathlab look like? Well, it's going to look like this when you log in. And I'm just in one of my Mymathlab courses, and I've got 4 of these things. So I just clicked on the first one. E-text. So right here is your textbook. There is no physical textbook. Even I do not have a physical textbook. It does not exist. And you'll find that this goes through all the way to chapters 13, but we only covered it chapter 9, chapter 10, if for some reason we finished in a flash of lightning. There is a chapter 0. This is what we'll be spending the next 2 classes on. This is the Introduction to Excel. When you click a section, you can then click the Explore button. And that will take you to your e-text, which I had already loaded because sometimes it takes 5 minutes to pop up and I didn't want to waste time. And this is what would then pop up. This is your e-text. It's an e-text because there are interactive buttons that you can click. Oh, how to move a worksheet. And then it'll pull up a video or something like that, or just a little text chat thing. And I really wish I hadn't done that. Okay, there we go. That box didn't used to be there. Sweet, they fixed it. I love when technology gets fixed. You can use these arrows to go between the pages. Anything that has a little video button, a play button, pulls up a video. When you click on words that are highlighted, it pulls up definitions. What's a formula? An equation that is used to compute a wanted quantity. In Excel, it looks something like this, blah, 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 blah. Hey, this is what Excel looks like. This is what we should be typing into Excel when we start working on creating this sales order form that we're going to do for the next 2 classes. So that's our textbook. Super easy to find. Where is it? Again, from the main menu, e-text, click the chapter you want to go to, click the section you want to go to, explore. Boom. And it pulled up pretty quick that time. All right. How do you find your guided activities, your guided worksheets? Now you might say, oh, well, it's this tab right here. Actually, that's not the best way to do it, in my opinion, because this one, I'm not even going to, yes, I will. I lied. If you do it this way and click that, you're going to find the entire book. This is the entire guided activities. This is the thing that is a printed option if you want it. So if you buy the printed option from the bookstore, this is what you get, just in paper form, and it's in black and white. It's not in color. So I like the electronic version more, in my opinion. In person, I would say I like the paper version, but we're not in person, so do whatever you want. So that's not great because it's everything. You're going to have to find chapter 1, chapter 5, chapter 9 later. This is the best way to find your guided activities, which is in the instructions tab I gave you earlier. Go to the e-text contents. Go to the chapter that you want it for. So we're going to pull up chapter 0's guided worksheets, and it's at the bottom. So you find your sections, then the guided activities. Maybe you want to look at chapter 1, sections, guided activities. Anything that says PKA is what we call the developmental math, the prerequisite stuff. So if you are rusty with math from a chapter, maybe you need to check those out. All right, so what's the chapter 0 guided activities look like? So again, e-text, chapter 0, guided worksheets. Click, boom, there it is. I already had it pulled up in case as well. And instead of being 150 pages, this one's only like 20 pages. And you'll see pictures, you'll see instructions, you'll see notes, you'll see definitions, you'll see spaces that you can fill out for definitions should you choose to. That's up to you. I am not going to force you to complete these with the exception of the chapter 0 one. I do ask that everybody complete the chapter 0 one because it's going to help you learn Excel. But we will be referencing these all semester. We will be using these during class. There will be discussion boards for after class that use these as well. All right. What do we want to do next? Mymathlab, Excel, or regular homework? All right, download Excel files. What do the Excel files look like? You go to assignments. Now, due dates. You're not going to see any due dates yet, but these will be populated as the semester progresses. I will put them in basically a week before something's due, and I will always tell you due dates. I will always tell you every single assignment that is coming up at the intro of class. So I had that very, very, very clean little whiteboard with the course ID when we started class for a couple of minutes. Every single class I'll have, hey, this is the next Excel homework and when it's due. Hey, this is the next Mymathlab homework and when it's due. This is the next discussion board and when it's due. All of that good stuff. So I will always tell you 100% of the assignments that are due at the beginning of class. This is why you have to pay attention to class. This is why you have to watch class. And remember, e-text is right here under e-text, and then chapter 0, chapter 1, chapter 2, etc. That's where you click for that. So assignments. Hey, an orientation. Make sure you do the orientation. Hey, a video on how to complete and submit Excel work. So this is going to go into grand detail in case you forget. Regular Mymathlab homeworks start with the word section. Any Excel homework starts with the word Excel. I have pretty much only populated this list with the Excel assignments we will be doing throughout the semester, but there are 1 or 2 in here that'll be trimmed for time. So you can see right here, this is the first Excel assignment that you'll have to do, the first traditional Excel assignment. Now, there will be an assignment I make you do over the next week, but it's not traditional Excel. It's going to feel much more like a project. And it's just a completed. I'm not going to grade it. We'll talk about that next class. I know I'm talking about 10 million things. That's just how this course is, unfortunately. I can't get around it. All right, so open the Excel homework. Click that, heart rate. And then 4 different menus pull up. You have a tab for downloading your materials. You have a tab for previewing steps, following the instructions if you'd like to. You have a tab for uploading your completed work. And then you have a tab for actually submitting it for grading. So you have to upload it and you have to submit it for grading. And you're going to get 5 attempts on each of these. So Mymathlab homeworks, you get infinitely many attempts. Excel, you only get 5. And this is something that I can't control. I have to give you 5. I can't give you any more, or I would. So you'll, of course, download first. You can download all files. You can just download the combo, whatever you like. You'll click down here. Depending on what browser you're using, your file might download somewhere else. Open it up. You'll see a Word file for just the instructions, and then you'll see an Excel file for the instructions and the assignment. I usually just look at the Excel file. Now, please understand that unfortunately, that always gets in the way, you silly Zoom menu that you can't see, students. Enable editing. Thank you. The instructions tab. This tab is much more specific than the instructions you'll find in the questions tab. Now look where I am down here, bottom left, bottom left. It's not like a web browser. Your tabs are on the bottom left. Questions, questions. This is where you'll do all your work. And you'll see instructions over here. But unfortunately, these instructions are not verbatim the same as these instructions. These instructions are much more specific in the instructions tab, and they're the ones that you need to follow verbatim. This is a common issue with students. And guess what? I can't fix it. I can't change it. I'm sorry. I wish I could. I would love to have more control over these assignments, but I just don't. So I can't change these. See, it doesn't say in this cell type that, in this cell type that. That's where the instructions are. So you'll be going back and forth between these two tabs. Now, this assignment is going to be your first official traditional Excel assignment. Again, there will be something you do with Excel before this. This is not going to be for a few weeks. There's literally 3 things you do in this. And you might say, Mr. Beckner, that can't be the case. There's a block here, a block here, a block here, a block here, and then we got to make a chart over here. Well, this right here is the first thing you type. You'll type something here, and then via the magic of Excel, you'll fill it down, and then boom, it's done. And then you'll highlight some stuff, and then you'll make a chart. However it is that you do that, it's the insert tab right here. You make a chart, maybe a pie chart, maybe a dot chart, maybe a bar chart. I'm not telling you. And then you put it here, and that's pretty much it. There's a couple more details than that, but it's literally just 3 things that you do here. Then you will save the file. Make sure you save it. Make sure you know how to save files. In case you don't know, this is called a floppy disk for anyone who's 18 and has never seen one in their life. That's your save button, or you can go to File. And then you will go back to Mymathlab. You'll submit the file to upload for documenting. You find it in there, and then you click the Submit for Grading button. When you submit for grading, it will give you your score as well as a panel to review. There'll be several little arrows that you can click, and when you click it, it'll give you in great grand detail what is wrong. I will mention the grading system is not perfect. Sometimes it screws up. Sometimes it says that, hey, this thing that you did in the cell is wrong, and it doesn't really give you the instructions on why. It's not a perfect system, and that's why I curve these grades a little bit, but don't worry about that too much. You should not be emailing me over and over and over asking how to do Excel homeworks. These are supposed to be much more independent. The homeworks are much more independent. If you email me once or twice, that's fine. I will probably give you very generic answers. I'm not going to give you exactly what to do. Okay, and I have got 8 minutes to cover the last bit of information. So let's see, what haven't I done? I got to do traditional homework. All right, so what's a traditional homework look like? Let's go to 2.1. There's usually about 10 to 15 or 20 questions, sometimes less, sometimes more, but these usually aren't too bad. When you're in these homeworks, sometimes they're multiple choice. Sometimes they're, I can't move this. What in the world? There we go. Wow, so this has changed. The view looks completely different. All right, find the ratio of A to B. It's also a lot smaller. If you have a regular computer, you can hold Control and scroll with your mouse wheel to zoom things in, or you can just use traditional zoom controls. All right, find the ratio of A to B, find the ratio of B to A. This is multiple part. I just want one that's one part. Find the ratio of the following. Simplify if possible. 511 to 329 days. So, the ratio is 3/2. Boom, I type 3, fraction, 2, check answer. That's wrong. That's incorrect. All right, well, maybe it's 5/2. Check answer. Nope. Maybe it's 5/3. I don't know. Math is hard. Final check. Okay, it tells me the correct answer there. Oh, the correct answer was 73/47. You might be thinking, oh, well, that sucks. I got this wrong. Well, no, just hit similar question and it'll change the numbers. Now it's 88/32. Now you might say, oh, just type 88/32 because that's how ratios work. Check answer. That's incorrect. And then it might give you a tip. Although your answer is equal to the correct answer, it's not in the correct form. That's because 88 and 32 have a common factor. They are both at least divisible by 4. 88 divided by 4 is going to be 22. That's weird. I highlighted it and it didn't whatever. And then 32 divided by 4 is going to be 8. And if I check this, it's still going to say wrong. Although it's equal to the correct answer, it's still not reduced. Well, because 22 and 8 have a common factor of 2. So that would become 11 over 4. Now, admittedly, this one is correct. Final check. Boom, there we go. And now that question is permanently correct. And then you can just hit save. And then, look, we got question 3 correct. All right, so what if you haven't watched your lectures? What if you had no idea how to do this? What if you want to do this again? What if you did one of these problems and you don't feel like it's enough? Because honestly, MyMathLab doesn't always give you enough examples. Hit similar question, and then there's another one. All right, so I don't know how to do this, Mr. Beckner. I'm going to email you and ask. Nope, not going to help you there because you've got buttons for almost every problem. Help me solve this or view an example. View an example just takes you step by step through an example, shows you the reduction. Help me solve this would actually require your input along the way. It's up to you which one you do. All right, 207, check, cool, boom. All right, then the next one, it says to do this. Now reduce the fraction. So it's 37 over 23. Boom, there we go. So that's the ratio. So that's your MyMathLab homework. So under your assignments, you find your 2 types of homeworks. Regular MyMathLab homework, which starts with the word section, and Excel homework, which starts with the word Excel. There's no purchasing of your e-text when you're under there. It's just there. You will find some review quizzes and some review homeworks in here. Those are not graded unless I say so, which I have only ever done one of them in my entire history. And I don't think I'm going to do it this semester. These are just if you want to do extra stuff. It will not help your grade. It will not hurt your grade. The only things you're required to do, start with the word section or start with the word Excel. And I will always tell you what the next assignments to do are. It's never going to be, hey, what do we do next, Mr. Beckner? I have no idea. Well, clearly you're not watching my instruction videos. Video and resource library. I mentioned that there's some videos I'll make you watch for quizzes every now and then. And also they're very helpful, especially with Excel just in general. So you click the chapter you want to go to, spreadsheet basics. You can change the section if you want to and just click video. Find now, boom. So here are a whole bunch of spreadsheet tutorial videos. Oh man, I don't know how to fill down a formula. Well, hey, there's 2 videos to watch there. Filling a formula down. And then you can play this. The author talks.
Quantity. We click on the number itself,
Which
and Excel enters the cell reference,
yes,
in other words, the
my
address for that.
And
if I
this
click
right here
and
is actually
drag
exactly
now,
something we're going to do later. I will give you quizzes on these occasionally. Like I said, I'll always tell you which specific video to go to. Chapter 0 is the only one that has this many videos. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, way less videos. See, there's only like 10 of them here. You go to Chapter 6, there's only like 10 of them there. So there's way more videos on the Excel ones. I do highly recommend that you go back to those frequently. So that is pretty much all we have for MyMathLab. Now you might be saying, Mr. Beckner, I don't have Excel. I can't afford Excel. I can't go spend $100, $200 for the Word Office package. Well, guess what? You don't have to. It's free to you. You're a TCC student, it's free. Go to office.vccs.edu, log in using your TCC credentials, and at the top right, you'll find a link to download Excel. It's as easy as that. I can't show it to you, unfortunately. I don't have time, unfortunately, with my 2 minutes left. Oh my God, I've talked too slow. You're like, how has he talked too slow? You can't use Chromebooks, and I don't know exactly where the breakoff is, but you can't use super old Apple computers. Chromebooks cannot download Excel because they are proprietary software. I can't control this. You're going to have to find another computer. You're going to have to borrow one. You're going to have to go to the library, whatever it is. I'm sorry. If you can't do that, you need to withdraw from this course because you're not going to be able to do well in this course without Excel. I will always post class notes in Canvas in advance. We said you're responsible for reading those. Read one section ahead. We talked about projects. We talked about how this isn't a high school class. Ask yourself, does it make sense? Pay attention all the time. I'm not going to give extra credit, especially the last day of class. All homework and quizzes. This is one I know someone asked about earlier. Will always be due by midnight, 11:59 p.m., either Tuesday or Thursday of the next week. So It'll always be 1 week later. So yeah, if I gave something on a Monday or Tuesday, then it's due Tuesday the next week. If I gave something on a Wednesday or Thursday, it's due Thursday of the next week. And again, assignments are always announced in advance. I do curve your Mymathlab homeworks. It says not Excel. Honestly, I do curve the Excel. I'm going to stop lying about that. I'll always add 10 points to all your Mymathlab grades, but I won't make it over a 100. So if you have a 95, you're just getting 100. If you have a 90, you're getting 100. If you have an 80, you're getting 100. If you don't do the assignment, you don't get that. Make sure you watch the lectures. Make sure that you are studying and doing homework for at least 6 hours a week, 6 hours a week, 6 hours a week, 6 hours a week. That is the course expectations here. Discussion boards. When you're in your Canvas course right now, this is all you're going to see. Again, just in a generic, one of my Math 154s, don't even know which one I clicked. Helpful tips to start. That was emailed. That's the same file you saw me looking at occasionally. The pre-day one email is along with a Mymathlab ID. That might be ours. That might not be. Might not. Lecture videos. This is where I will link the YouTube videos after the fact. They will be uploaded by the end of the day, usually by 5 p.m. the same day. This is where you'll find your quizzes. You can already see your first quiz here. This, I will give you the due date next time. You can try it now if you want to, but there's only one attempt, so make sure that you are careful with it. They are not timed. Quizzes are never timed. These are the notes to share that I mentioned. These are the COVID-19 policies that I mentioned. What do the notes to share look like? These are pretty short documents. This one's got some definitions, a couple of formulas, some Excel stuff, some more Excel stuff. But this is a really, really short file, and they're all short files. These will get more populated as the semester goes on and on and on. So please make sure that you're checking Canvas every day. Make sure you're checking your emails every day. You can find your syllabus in here as well. You'll find your grades, which again, you don't trust. The things for all these other things you might not, hey, Mr. Beckner never assigned that. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right, so that's all the time we have today. I'm sorry for keeping you an extra minute or two. Again, we're not going to have you turn it in any kind of printed guided activities. Those are for your own work. Actually, there is one more thing I need to do. I have to show you the discussion boards. The guided activities relate to discussion boards, which are here. Discussions. And you're not going to see any right now because I haven't assigned any. But when I do, they'll look something like this, and you're going to see week 2, lecture 1, week 5, lecture 1. I always do things based on the week and the lecture. Like today was week 1, lecture 1. So eventually, not necessarily week 2, lecture 1. I think this was based off a summer class. You'll have a activity that you have to do, a discussion board based on a guided activity. So hey, from page 28, list 10 or more possible answers to this. Then from page 30, do that. We'll talk about this, how discussion boards work a little more later when we have time. Again, I just talked a little too slow at first with the syllabus. It is what it is. But that should be everything else. Again, purchase your textbook through Barnes and Noble or Mymathlab directly. If you're going to do it directly through Mymathlab, it's when you are creating your account or when you first log in to Mymathlab. And you'll see your course like here. You should have, oh no, I didn't need to do that. When you're on your courses, when you won't have multiple of these, you'll have a button that says to enter your code or purchase your code. That's where you can do that. And it'll take you to a screen that looks like this. So that's what it'll look like where you can buy your code on Mymathlab. Okay. So again, thank you for taking a few extra minutes. If you have any questions, please email me. I did my best to answer any questions. If I missed any, again, just email me. And yes, I look forward to working with y'all. So again, the next 2 classes will just be talking about Excel. We're going to go slower through an introduction of Excel. We're going to talk about how to use it, how to do stuff, the assignment that you'll have to submit in Canvas to me, and that'll be the only one. It's going to feel more like a project than a regular homework. So we'll talk about the comparisons there next time. All right. Have a good day, everyone. Please enroll in Mymathlab by when? 5 p.m. tomorrow. Do it today, do it right now if you can. Take care. We'll see you next class.